Hello and welcome to everybody on Cloud Fitness. So in today's video, we are going to talk about a very common topic of delta table. So when we talk about delta tables in Databricks or when we talk about delta lake, right, most of us have a lot of questions regarding this. What are the different features of delta lake, delta table, how we can utilize those features. So I will be creating a series of videos on the delta table itself. First we will discuss and we will see how delta table is, what are the basic features of delta table, and then we will discuss each and every feature of the delta table in detail in upcoming videos. So without further ado, we will directly jump on to the question, what exactly a delta lake is. So when you talk about a delta lake, right, or let's talk about data lakes first. We have worked on a lot of ADLS Gen 2s, we have created a lot of ADLS Gen 2. What is that? That is a data lake, right? And then you have something called as delta lake. So understand both of these are very different. Delta lake is different, delta lake is different. So data lake is something as our ADLS Gen 2 in Azure. And when you talk about delta lake, it is a storage layer on top of your data lake, which is in Parquet format, right? So data lake, you store your Parquet files, you store your your CSV file, your Avro files, or whatever format you want to store your files in. And then in when you talk about your delta lake, it is again a storage layer, but it is an optimized storage layer on top of your data lakes. And when I say optimized, it is optimized for a lot of processing. How it is optimized? It is a Apache. It is a snappy, it is a compressed Apache format. Basically, it is a snappy Parquet format, and then it uses basically Parquet format underneath, and then it has something called as transaction log. It has something called as your delta log, due to which it it is able to behave like a normal tables, your database tables. So when you talk about your traditional databases, in that you can simply query a table. But when you talk about your data lakes, if you have stored your 100 Parquet files in data lake, so doing any merging operation, doing any updation of any kind of records, right, it becomes really very difficult. Doing your metadata handling, doing your version controlling becomes really difficult. But when we say that delta lake is an optimized storage layer on top of your data lake, they are much more optimal. They are reliable to do any kind of work which you can do on your traditional tables as well. In fact, they are much more faster also. So delta lake is nothing but a storage layer on top of your delta lakes in a Parquet format, right? And when you try to store anything inside your delta lake, right, you store it in form of a delta table. So when I talk about data lakes, in data lakes you store data in any format which you want. You store it in CSV, you store it in Parquet, right? But when you talk about delta lake, you store it in form of a delta table, right? But in terms of Databricks, do remember that after runtime 8 and above, all the tables that you create will be delta tables, and you can create delta tables using Python, Scala, SQL, or anything, right? Or like all the 4 languages which are available. Now coming on to the another part, which is delta table features. So there are multiple features associated with the delta lake, right, or the delta tables. Because of these features, it is widely used technology now, right? It is asset compliant. It is asset compliant just like your normal tables, but they are not tables. Remember that they are not tables. We will discuss about each of these in detail in my upcoming videos as well. So they have something called as scalable metadata handling. They can handle your metadata in a very in a very nice fashion. And similarly, you can do your streaming, you can do your batch operations. There is something called as schema enforcement, time travel, your upserts. We are going to discuss in detail, so no worry on this. And in fact, before moving on, I would like to show you. So I have created a playlist with the name of Azure Basics, this particular playlist. So if you open this particular play series, in this I have mentioned a video on data warehouse, data lake, and the lake house, right? So this is basically data warehouse, data lake, and your lake house platform. Lake house platform is your delta lake only, right? So I have explained in detail the difference between these three. So this video will actually help you to understand the basics even better. So do watch out this video. But for now, let's move on to our exact hands-on. So when I say hands-on, so the very first, let me zoom it. Actually, it will be very much visible now. Okay, so now the very first command, I've already created a video on this. I'm doing nothing, but I'm just connecting my Databricks to the data lake. So this is my data lake. This is my ADLS Gen 2 test 123 YT. This is the ADLS Gen 2 account that I've created. There is a container. Inside this container, I have a test inside this storage account, I have this container, test container, and inside this test container, I have a CSV file which I'm going to read. So this is a data lake, right? I have a data lake. Inside this, I have a CSV file. Now first I'm connecting to the data lake, and there are different ways to connect. For that, I've already created a video of connecting different ways to connect ADLS Gen 2 to Databricks. So that video would also be somewhere. I think that video will also be in these Databricks hands-on tutorial itself. You can go ahead and watch that out in case you want to get more information on command 1. Now in the command 2, this is basically Scala notebook. I am just trying to read the CSV file. So spark.read.format. So this is an API, Spark Read API, spark.read.format CSV. CSV is the file which I have. Option header equal to true. So if I go back and open my CSV file, you will actually see, if I click on this edit option, so there are around 9 rows present, and then you have the headers over here, right? So in the similar way, I am mentioning header equal to true, and this is the location where my file is present, right? So let me click on run. So I have a data frame created where I am reading the contents of my CSV file, and then I can just display this data frame. So the moment I display this data frame, you can see the data is present here. Now I have the data in my data frame. Now I want to create a delta table out of it, right? Now to create a delta table, basically I have command 4. In fact, this is one of the most important command here, df_data lake. So this is the data frame where I am reading the contents of a CSV file from a data lake. .write.format delta. So I am writing it in format of a delta table, right? .mode override. So mode can be anything, like it can be append, it can be override. So it is a basic append and override which we say. And then you have save. .save. Now I am specifying the location, that where I want to save my delta table, right? So I want to save my delta table at this particular location. So this is my container, and inside container is the part which I have highlighted. So this is my data lake, and test container is my container. So go inside that container and load my table here, right? So 01 is already loaded. So if you see, the 01 is already there. So I'll go and change the name over here. So let me say YouTube, right? And let me just run it. Now when I'm running it, you will see my delta table gets created. Okay, my delta table is ready. So I should go back. When I go back over here, right, let me just cross and let's do a refresh. Now you will see that you have target delta table load underscore YouTube. So this is nothing but this is what is your delta table. So if I go inside it, okay, now it doesn't look like a table, but we call it as a delta table because it has all the features of a table, right? So it has a part file over here. So this part file, if you see, in fact, let me just move it here. Yeah. So now you can see .snappy.parquet. So as I told you that this delta lake is based on the Parquet format. So anything that you create inside as a delta table gets created in form of Parquet files. So this is .snappy.parquet. So snappy is the type of compression. So it compresses your file, right? So it compresses your file and stores it in Parquet format. So this snappy.parquet holds your data. Now if you open this particular folder, so there is something called as delta_log, right? So I told you that this delta table has transaction log present, which makes what delta table is, right? Delta table is all about this delta log, right? So if I go inside this delta log, you will see that there is one CRC file present, one JSON file present. So this is basically metadata, you can say metadata about your delta table. So if I open this JSON file, you will see that it has the details, like for example, when this file was created, who created this file, you know, what are the partitions and size of the file, all the details about your files. And similarly, you have a checkpoint, you know, similarly you have this checkpoint file as well, which also defines, you know, it also has your metadata, you know, how many transactions happened, what is the size of the file, what are the number of files present. So this is the heart of your delta table. Using this, delta table can do anything. So I will be discussing different features of delta table in my upcoming video. So all those features will actually relate to this delta log only, right? Now let me go back. Now since I have created a delta table, now let's say I want to read from this delta table, right? I'll just copy the name of my delta table which I have created. So let me just paste the name here. So now you will see that this is I have created a delta table. Now if I want to read from my delta table, I can simply write spark.read.format. Read format will be my delta, which is mentioned here, and then the path. So this is the path, right? So now if I want to read my file, I will read it like this. So this is how you read your delta tables. Okay, this is how you can read. And now you will see that read underscore delta, it is a data frame which is created. And if I want to read, you know, if I want to display the contents, I can display it like this. So this is how I can read my delta table, right? And now similarly, in fact, let me copy the name again here. Okay, so similarly, I told you that you know, it creates CRC file, it creates JSON files, right? It creates a delta log. So using that delta log, it preserves the history. So if I run this particular cell, you will actually see that it has something called as version, timestamp, user ID, username. So this is a delta table history. So the delta table history is another concept. We will talk more in detail in the upcoming videos just on this topic also. So if you see, this is written again in Scala. So delta table, right? So I am telling Databricks API that delta table, read a Spark delta table from this particular location, right? Read a Spark delta table from this particular location and show me the history, dot history. So when I say show me the history, it will show you all the operations that you have done on that particular table, right? So right now, and it stores all those operations as a version. So right now I just ran it once, right? I have done no change, I just ran it once. So the first version is version 0. When did I do this? At this particular date and at this particular time. What is the user ID? What is the username? What kind of operation I did? I did a write operation, right? Let me go up. So on what cluster ID I did? What is the notebook ID? So all these details. What are the number of files written? So you will see this is the number of files written, right? What are the number of output rows? So if you see, I had 9 rows, right? So it mentions everything. So likewise, if I make any change and again I run this, it will have version 1 as well. So it will store version 0, version 1. So version control also it does it only because of that metadata or that delta log which is present, right? So this is also one of the feature which we will discuss in detail. So let's say if I want to, you know, okay, this part in fact I'll cover in you know, another video. It's a pretty long part. I'll cover it in another video. Okay, now this is the very basic of delta table which I have explained you. So let me do one more thing. Let me try to read Databricks default dataset, right? So Databricks by default, it gives you default data sets which are present at this particular location. We have been talking about this in our videos. So this is the location. Now I have a default delta table present here, right? By default provided by Databricks datasets, right? If I want to read a delta table, I am again showing you how do we read it. Spark.read.format, and this is the read format will be delta, it is mentioned above, and the path is this, and then I'll just display the data frame, right? So this is how I can read a default data set. So okay, here there is a difference. I'm not connecting to the data lake. Okay, I'll show you what is the difference. I am not connected to data lake. I am just reading it from some default data set which is present at a particular location, which is provided by Databricks. Now this is the data which I have read. Now if I want to, I have read this data in a data frame. Now I want to write it as a delta table. Now I can simply run this. Let me just run this first. Okay, so here I am writing out that data frame as a delta table. Now this delta table I have written at this particular location. Now this location is a DBFS location. Now because I am not connected to the data lake, so I am so I am just writing it in Databricks default location. So Databricks default location is a DBFS location. So I have just given it a random location, and I have asked Databricks to just create a delta table. Right now, if you see, you can just read. Let me just read it from here. So if I am doing dbutils.fs.ls, it is just used to list the files which are present at this particular location. So this is the place where I wanted to create my delta table, right? So if I see, let me just remove this delta log and again run it. So you will actually see that these are the files present. Now if you go above, what I have done, people.write.format, write format is delta, partition by. So I have partitioned it based on gender, right? And then write mode will be overwrite, and save path is this path. And now I'm reading this path. When I read this path, I have two partitions. One is gender female and one is gender male, right? And then I have a delta log. So same delta log, right? If I go inside this delta log, let me control copy and then just put delta log here, and let me just go inside delta log. What is present? Let's see. So again, it has the CRC and JSON files, right? We will talk more about in detail. Don't get confused that there are so many JSON and CRC files. If you run it multiple times, it will capture the versions, right? And to capture the versions, it will create CRC and JSON files. We will discuss about it. No worries on that part, right? So this is the delta log which gets created, and then you have the data present in these partitions. So now if I go ahead and if I try to list what is present inside this partition, you will see the Parquet files, right? Which kind of Parquet files? Snappy.parquet. These are the Parquet files which are present. These holds your actual data. Now remember one thing, okay? Here I have specified the path. I am creating a delta table. I am telling Databricks that create a delta table at your default location but at this path, right? But now if I don't want to specify the path, in that case, this is how I will do that. Data frame.write, or people is my data frame, .write format delta, save as table, and I'm just giving the table name, right? I'm just giving it a table name, that save it at this particular location, but save it with this name. I have not given it any location. Now this location will be handled by Databricks, so that is what is called as your managed table. In fact, I have created a video on managed and unmanaged table. Let me just open this.
Hello.
So if you see over here, there will be there's a video on managed and external tables, right? So you can go ahead and watch this video. Your concept will become clear. Now this will create a managed table. So managed table means the table is created by Databricks. The location is defined by the Databricks. More details will be in the video. So let me just run this and see. Okay, so in fact I have run this earlier, that is why it says that it is already created. So let me just name it as 100M, right? And then let me select star from 100M. So you will actually see that you are able to save the table even without giving a location. Now because the location is handled by Databricks, and then if you do select star from people 100M, you will see that you see the data over here, right? And similarly, if you want to drop let me come here. So if you want to drop the table, you can drop the table directly here. you can just drop this table 10M or 100M we created, right? So this 10M is dropped. Now if I don't want to drop 100M because I want to show you something, so I'm not going to drop the table right now, but you can see over here that I've just run this command and I have dropped people 10M table, right? Drop table if exists. So you can even drop the table, so your underlining data will actually get deleted. Now if you want to query your table, right, let me just keep it as 100M because we have created 100M table. Now I have parameterized, not parameterized, but I have given it as a variable name. To the table name I have given a variable name. Now if I want to display the contents, if I want to query my delta table, how do I do that? Simple, spark.table table name, let's say people 100M, right? This is my table name, and select whatever you want, any kind of query that you want, and just run it. Right now you will see that I have created a table people 100M and I'm even able to query it, right? So what is this? This is basically querying your delta table, right? You can go ahead, visualize your data as well. Let me just run this. So basically let me just copy the data frame. Okay, let me define. So basically here what I'm trying to do is I am trying to create a data frame out of my Spark table, right? This table name I have defined at the top. So this table name is nothing but my people 100M, right? Now I am saying Spark, so my people data frame is nothing but my Spark table. Now just let me run it. So in this data frame I'm selecting gender, I'm ordering by gender, right? And then I'm grouping by gender. I'm trying to do some count over here. So just like this you can have data profile, or you can also have your charts over here, right? So both the things you can go ahead and check the results, or you can go ahead or you can select the charts as well. So this is how you can actually query your data using delta tables as well, right? I hope you understood what I tried to make my point clear here. But at the same time there are other features of Delta Lake. So I have kind of given you an introduction of Delta Lake or Delta tables, but we are going to discuss about asset transactions on Spark Delta tables. How Delta tables takes care of asset compliance, how it can handle the metadata changes. So now if your metadata is changing, you have a file coming and you have created a delta table out of it. Now suddenly there is a change in the metadata. Now you want to push those changes or not. That kind of even your schema enforcement as well, right? Whether you want to do it or in which way you want to do it. So those kind of concepts also can be easily handled using your Databricks delta tables. Similarly, you have something called as time travel. I have shown you that it version controls, right? So using that version controlling, so let's say you have fired some command on your delta table. Now you want to revert it back. So just because it has version controlling enabled on it, you can go back in time and fetch the data which was present at that particular time, right? Similarly, upsurge, slowly changing dimensions, these are very easy when we talk about your delta tables, right? And thank you so much for being till here. Do let me know in the comment section if you have any doubts, any questions. I will be happy to answer. Thank you so much.